Hello. I'm coming back with some more Stanley Parable. This may or may not be the last Stanley Parable stream. Yeah, past few days I've been having to get up a bit early, so yeah, not really streamed that much. I still need to sort out YouTube videos that I've backlogged a bit, but we'll get there in the end. Yeah, who was asking me to enter the time again for Stanley Parable? Is this gonna get captured? There we go. Great. It is. It's PM, 11 PM, 29. I believe there's been some patches since I last played, so probably some bugs fixed, like the you know, the bug to do with the corridor. Also, the guy said, "Hang on. Before we get started, can I just say something? You've actually set the clock both times you boot up the game. A lot of people don't take that step seriously, and they just leave the clock set at 12 o'clock and call it a day. But you're actually taking the time to set the clock, and I appreciate that. That's how I know that you care about this experience. You're paying attention. You don't even have any way of knowing if the times you're setting are correct. Tell you what, I'll make you a deal. Since you've been so cooperative, next time you boot up the game, see the screen, just set the clock to your favorite time. Go ahead, pick whichever time you want, even if it's not the correct time. You've earned it. Alright, I'll let you back into the video game now. I'll probably just set it to the actual time it is. I don't think I have a favorite time. Who has a favorite time? Wasn't there before? Hold left and right. I can just play with one hand. Hog. It's actually kind of cool.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Nice balloons.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley.
Stanley Parable
Something he would never
Two.
quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Welcome back. I got that as an achievement. Alright. So yeah, so last time we went through the whole extra content stuff. Last time we went through the whole extra content stuff, we saw
All of
new
his coworkers
things.
were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps
I'm
he
aware of an
simply
ending I kind of
misremembered.
missed out on because I
No
didn't
matter how
do
hard
something.
Stanley looked,
Or
he couldn't find a
I
trace
kind
of
of
his
want
coworkers.
to do that. And the bucket is now here. I don't want to take the bucket with me immediately because the ending I've got in mind requires us to not have the bucket. Was that there before? So we'll leave that there for now.
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why was he not doing it?
I do look.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Yes, I want to go for the ending that I missed first.
Yet
and
there was
then
not a single
start picking
person
up the
here
bucket.
either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
So I want to go in here. Are you kidding me? Do I have to like do the boss thing several times to get this to actually open up? Ugh.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human
Maybe
life.
if I do it once.
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk.
Didn't.
That kind of anxiety isn't
This is gonna make me.
so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
Yep. I want to just access the elevator. Maybe I should just take the bucket. I'm gonna restart. I'm gonna take the bucket. I'm gonna restart and take the bucket.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps Stanley picked up the bucket.
Gonna take the bucket outside of me.
Stanley flung the bucket to his cheek. Could his co-workers really all be gone? Yes, whispered the bucket into Stanley's ear.
We've done it. We've escaped from that dull office and that pesky narrator. At last, out here in the white void, we are alone. Now, and for the first time, I can reveal to you my true self.
The bucket began to tell Stanley of its life and its history, of the countless wars it witnessed, desecrating the land and lives of untold numbers of innocent humans, and the bucket's own complicity therein, of sadness and regret, and the many years it spent dwelling on the actions it might have taken to curb the madness and the decay, if only it had been stronger, of hope and redemption, and its crusade to uplift the stock of life for the common man, to manifest justice where none existed, and the bittersweet reality of time, to see one's dreams and wishes met halfway, meted out in parcels like charity, and abandoned as soon as the warm glow of inspiration begins to dim. The opportunities to do so much more. There was so much it could have done, perhaps, the bucket wondered to itself. Perhaps, if it had seen its own darkness with a clearer perception. This was way too much for Stanley.
What are you talking about?
He screamed.
You're a bucket!
To this, the bucket furrowed its brow.
No,
Said the bucket.
not since the evil wizard Gambhorata first ensnared me in his machinations as payback for the sacred amulet I stole from his treasured vaults. I was young back then and could not conceive the ramifications of— No!
Stanley screamed even louder this time.
This is stupid! You are a bucket! This is so stupid! Why are we even doing this?
As Stanley screamed and screamed and screamed, the bucket revealed its true form, transforming into a mighty beast of untold power, its fangs glistening like— My God, Stanley, you did it. You saved us from the bucket. Thank God you already had all 12 emblems of sages and knew the incantations to summon their true power. Otherwise, we would have easily been overwhelmed by the bucket's power. I'm speechless. You've demonstrated such bravery here today. Come, let's restart the game, and we'll agree to never again go trifling with this bucket, nor the dark magic cast away inside of it.
What? Alright, sequel better.
All of his co-workers were gone.
In this case, the
What
sequel's
could it
better.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the
I don't
meeting
think
room.
you can get
Perhaps
better
he
than
had Stanley lifted
the
the
Bucket's
bucket into
voice.
his arms, and a wave of comfort
in
rushed
those,
over him.
in those scenes. The bucket was amazing, to be honest. That was amazing.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door
On his left. You didn't see the broom closet?
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together.
Yeah,
go through each
stabbed
of them
it to
point
death.
by point.
Side.
Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it. Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Anything else?
All right, I've got a second sticker here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see, I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
Ah, it's a bucket. Any more stickers?
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us a silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Just hear him walking away. You sure you don't want to talk more about the broom closet? How bullshit it is. Wanting to steal my bucket. Go. Out. What if we go back in? Anything new? We done with the broom closet? We'll revisit it the next time we walk by.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Boss's office. Anything you do in the bathroom? Pog? Collectible?
We found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done.
You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
I hope they make those IRL as merch.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Bucket told me
Was
it.
it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical.
What if the
explanation.
narrator was the bucket?
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Stanlerine.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
I already want
Stanley
them.
and the bucket walked straight
Emotional
ahead through the
support
large
bucket.
door that read, Mind Control Facility.
What if they sold buckets as merch? And that would be a 2000 IQ brain idea for merch. Let's see if this is a new ending. The bucket.
But just as Stanley was about to proceed further into the mind control facility, he tripped and fell over the railing and into the dark void below. Thankfully, he fell directly onto the bucket, which safely cushioned his fall. Now, what to do next, Stanley wondered. Stanley and the bucket could find no way out of this enormous pit, and so eventually they decided that the best thing to do would be to simply get comfortable down here. So they set up a little couch and relaxed. It really wasn't so bad down here, a bit cold perhaps. After some time had gone by, they installed a few shelves as well, and a sort of kitchenette that was useful for when the bucket was craving paninis. But it wasn't until the rugs and the standing lamps came in that it really started to feel like a home. In fact, after some time, Stanley realized that it had been ages since he had even thought of the mind control facility at all. He'd never gotten to fully explore what was up there, never been able to unearth the many mysteries of the mind control facility. This lack of closure began to eat at him. Soon he was dwelling on his regrets, and the state of their home slowly decayed as Stanley became withdrawn and neglected the cleaning. It unsettled the bucket deeply. Stanley wasn't usually like this. The bucket tried to reach out to him again and again, but to no avail. All Stanley could think about, all he could talk about, was going back, doing it over again, staying on the path. It was a mistake to leave the path. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. I need to do what the narrator says. I need to see the true ending. This made no sense at all to the bucket, which was simply trying to live its life down here as comfortably as possible. Yet Stanley was unconsolable. This isn't an ending.
This is just a hole in the ground.
The bucket sighed. True, it wasn't an ending. But it's where we happen to be. And maybe, possibly, if we accept the reality of things, maybe this will become an ending eventually. It's what the bucket was counting on. The two of them waited for a very long time.
I want to check if
All of his
I can
co-workers
get to the
were
elevator
gone.
yet.
What could it mean?
Really want to get to the elevator.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Green Finance Committee meeting today in the meeting room. Just ignore the bucket for now. We'll just restart if we
When
have to.
Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
the elevator
he entered the
door
door on
isn't
his
open yet.
left.
If the elevator door isn't open this time, I'll just keep doing the bucket until I see it open. Oh my god. Warehouse access plan. Produce one plank to allow ease of access past fence. Construct bridge to allow collection of shiny floors. Retrieve Chris's remains from warehouse floor. Construct new structurally sound bridge. Mission status. Ah, hints. Oh, looks like 47. There's some kind of game, must be a point to this. So, a large room, lots of boxes. That's not ringing a bell for me. Is there something to do with stairs? Okay, so probably the stairwell for the boss. Somewhere both red and blue. Probably the red and blue door was. I'm not sure what the first one is. A large room, lots of boxes. Yeah, I don't know. Trust the completionist instinct. Where the false prophet. There will be a reward for finding them all. We can talk more. Big Lees are hard to find. All the clues went up by 416. We can do it. Red room? Thank you, good luck. Maybe we are the collectibles. Shut the frick up. I managed to pick up sounds unusual to our regular office ambiances or local audio sources using an array of cardioid microphones. Also known as directional mic, a microphone which picks up sound from a particular area. Analysis of the recordings allow me to triangulate the source of the strange noise. There shows that in all likelihood it's coming from a dark area. Come from behind a very warm place. I also picked up what looks to be reverberance off a porcelain surface. Is anyone any leads on this? This is cool. Love this.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was
nothing
nothing
in
here.
there.
So he turned. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Is this open yet? Okay. So I did this before, but apparently it actually does go somewhere if you like turn it off and on like several times. If I'm right, that should be enough, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've been bamboozled. I read something about this supposedly gone somewhere. Hang on, I've got to look at it because this is confusing me. They call this the elevator room. I think I got bullshit. I think I got bullshit. I think for some reason I thought it would go for longer. Anyway, let's go get a bucket. Bucket. I need to take the bucket to heaven with me too.
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
How
We
about
are
boxes?
confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct? Excellent. Your order will arrive shortly. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
I was gonna say the
Stanley
figurine
clutched the
meeting
bucket
said
tightly to
about
his chest
employee
and
416.
entered the door on his
And
left.
he's the one that gives the hints, and employee 416's door is the door where the extra content was. It's interesting.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
Maybe a sticker if you wait for a couple of hours.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable.
I'm trying to see if there's any new
At this
text
point,
or when
Stanley
you
was so
press the
absorbed in the
random
tender
buttons.
spiritual connection he
I
shared
don't
with
think
the bucket
he
that
does it
didn't
automatically
notice
for
the
you
keypad
until he
behind the
finishes
boss's
talking.
desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
2845. Well, 6699. Well, 6666. How about 3?
Stanley
Three,
just sat
three.
around twiddling his thumbs.
About
Trying to input anything
1,
on the device was
2,
useless, since he could never possibly
3,
know
3.
that the combination was 2845.
0987
2845.
8624 1537 7095. Is he gonna do it for me eventually?
Forgotten,
wants to.
but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself.
Really
and
secure,
Stanley
by the
got
way.
the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Well, what do you do? Okay, no special text for the bucket. I wonder if you can take control of the mind control facility with the bucket. The bucket help you solve solve
Stanley and the bucket
puzzle.
walked straight ahead through the large door that read
Mind control facility.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this.
Oh, that's the
very nearly burst into
Face Punch
tears
logo.
as Stanley cradled it
On that
gently,
one.
reassuring it that everything would
Face
be
Punch are the
fine.
guys that made Gmod and Rust.
Was the bucket under the
Wonder if
mind
there's any
control
other-
facility's influence as well? Had
there's
the
any
bucket
other
been
Easter
told
eggs
to do things
on these
it
screens.
didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place?
Cold water?
These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never!
Pirate?
He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and... What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place, not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley thought. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Alright, it's kind of grim. Interesting. So I wonder, because we did the cardboard box thing, I wonder if that would cause the
All of his
figurine to
co-workers
show.
were gone. What could it mean?
Now there's a lot of boxes.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
You don't think so?
Spread through Stanley's arms.
Doesn't
With the
seem
bucket
so.
in his arms again, he was home.
This is different. I think.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs
To the boss's office.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along?
Yes.
Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Gee. Oh. Yeah, this might end up going into 2 streams, because it's quite late for me. I should have streamed earlier, but I was enthralled in the depth V.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read
stuff going
Mind Control Facility.
If I don't complete this today, I'll definitely stream this tomorrow.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs.
I'm wondering if
Bucket had never
216
seen
has
anything
anything
like this,
different.
and it very nearly burst
on
into
their
tears
monitor.
as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it
That bottom one
that
there.
everything would be fine.
216 was the guy that supposedly gives hints, right?
Was the bucket under the mind
that in
control
the warehouse?
facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't
accept it.
His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with
What the bucket, like,
emotions. Happy
traces?
or sad or content. Walking,
What the bucket
eating, working,
behind
all of
the
it
mind
monitored
control
and commanded from this
all
very
along.
place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machine... But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls.
Oh, I knew it.
Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds.
It's
Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
oh, it's like left and right. Okay, let's go back to seagulls.
Stanley
Mingles.
flipped through one video of silly birds after another.
Yellow
and then
bird.
it dawned on him.
Penguins.
This wasn't a mind control facility at all.
Whatever it is.
It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls
Woodpeckers?
were only a
Maybe?
facade to disguise its true intentions.
This is
Had the
pretty.
bucket
I
known
like the
this
little
all
tufts.
along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hand.
It's a sick beak.
The one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery.
This one.
Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable.
Oh,
Of all the possible paths his life could have taken,
birds.
this one
Oh, we're back at the
was
start.
surely the best. And Stanley was
Hey,
happy.
Coles. Yeah. This is understandable. No, they should have let you restart it on your own. That was a good ending. I like the ending.
All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it?
What do you mean?
Is this Stanley's office?
Huh? What do you mean? 427. Yeah, this is Stanley's office. The bucket's here. Must be my office, right?
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
So we're going to do the escape path now.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
I wonder how the escape ending will be different. Like if it'll still take us to the museum or
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that
it's something
read
else.
Mind Control. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Whee! Oh shit, back here. Maybe the bucket
As the
can save
machine
us.
whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure,
Right.
it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
At the very least, it's exercise, right? And you've got a container.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death. It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was
The
a
hell?
glorious bucket to
The
behold.
bucket's gone. The bucket welcomes you to the grand exhibit. You're standing at the precipice of knowledge, much like a bucket itself. The human mind is frequently empty within, cavernous void. No mine is. Miners? Myers? Mine? Mine, yes. But through use of the exhibit in front of you, mind becomes full and enriched and substantiated. Knowledge of the book and its history is the only true knowledge we really have. You take what you learn here out with you into the world. You accept with an open mind what may be challenging about the information in this exhibit. Will you change the lives of yourself and your loved ones as a result of this exhibit? Or will you turn a blind eye and continue to live as you were, in ignorance and darkness? Chair.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own?
No.
Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
That's cool. Bucket with two handles. This bucket is depicted as having two handles. Such a design has never been created in real life, having been deemed too dangerous and recklessly experimental. Every year, dozens are put to death just for attempting it. Okay, big yikes. Cordoned off area. Me. No. Almost. It's like, that's weird. It feels like the buckets are coming out at you. 25 buckets. That's more than 25. A photograph of 25 buckets. Greatest number of buckets ever captured on camera. The photographer experienced catatonic shock for several weeks as a result of euphoria from exposure to this many buckets at once. Maybe buckets aren't the best at counting. Inferno bucket. Replica of the Inferno bucket, which in the medieval area was so powerfully alluring that it drove dozens of nations to war with one another for control of it. Billions died in it. In spite of it all, the simple fact remains, no one can control a bucket. Stress bucket. Worrying, negative forecasting, negative thinking, lack of assurance, reassurance. Vulnerability equals size and strength of the bucket. Stress, the level of water in the bucket. Open strategies, holes. Rest and relaxation, doing something you enjoy. Rest and relaxation. Presented with our commentary. Yeah. Yo, it's actually really cool because this is like the kind of shit you see in actual museums, right? When you go to an exhibit like this, they'll have like what they think is like a song or people talking from a time period they've drawn. Well, we know that buckets predate the existence of mankind. We do not know by how long. This cave drawing depicts early man's discovery of the practical uses of the bucket, by which time the bucket had already likely been around for several millennia. Notice that these drawings how the bucket is allowing itself to be used, having judged humanity to be worthy of its treasures. Indeed.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Hanging bucket. This piece symbolizes the necessary relationship between bucket and humanity. However clear our grasp of the bucket may be, there is yet more that is always out of reach. This distance, inevitably, is for our own good. What? I was expecting to fall into the hole.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Alright, female narrator betrayed us in the bucket version. She's a bucket sympathizer. Okay, we'll come back here with the bucket. We'll see if the bucket likes.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to
Can't come
himself.
back here with the bucket.
Minutes? Days?
Okay, maybe we
Centuries?
can't take the bucket
Did something
to
crucial happen while my senses were
button heaven.
turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together.
Just the
Stanley
boys.
clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Coming to a
So, I
staircase,
wanna go up,
Stanley and the bucket walked
into the
upstairs
boss's
to the
door, but then
boss's
back out
office.
quick.
Stepping in.
Okay. Took a few tries. I want more stickers. Wait, that's a different door. Yeah? This is different? You are now leaving. Wait, no, this isn't different. This is right, yeah. I don't know why, but I thought... Yeah. Okay, door's closed. Doesn't open, does it? No. I don't know why, but I thought the Stanley's door should be open, but yeah, I remember this now. We need to climb the ladders to the escape pod, and then it just sort of blacks out abruptly. Itchy ear. I can use the left click, right click to keep moving while I itch my ear. Escape pod bear. Screw. Barely see. Very barely see. No, Stanley, you can go with it. The bucket doesn't have to go alone. Such. This isn't any different, is it? In Stanley Parable 2. Nah. It's just the same. Look at I think most of the new engines need you to have the bucket in hand.
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness
Right
Foundation.
again.
We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct? Excellent.
Sure.
Your order will arrive shortly. Thank you again for contacting the
Not
Future
really any
Happiness Foundation.
harm in it. Replacement bucket, is that because we... is that because
And
we...
try not to lose this one too, you dolt.
You didn't lose it. We helped it escape.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
So now we need to go downstairs.
Coming to a staircase,
Zoom.
Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Lately,
There's
I'm
the
getting back to the
stair-based
name of these little Stanley
figurine.
figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner
Like
of your
Figley.
screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Kind of like Figgly. Figgly?
But Stanley just couldn't do it.
Oh yeah,
He
this one.
considered the possibility of facing his boss,
Like this ending.
admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fined for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal,
Imposter
everyday
bucket.
Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought.
So you need to remember your bucket before you go out, or you'll go insane.
But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront.
It makes me really want to buy a bucket. I think this game is made by a big bucket.
Total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself. My life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Go Mariella.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked.
Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine with him.
So I'm just thinking, left side, we've done mind control off and on. We've dropped down to the bottom. We've done escape. We've done backing out of the room. And we've done downstairs. I think we've done everything on the left side now.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
Let's just stay here for a while.
Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right, then walking to the lounge, then arriving at the lounge. What a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired. Perhaps this was where the bucket felt most truly at home, here in the employee lounge. Perhaps it's the only place a bucket can even feel at lounge. Home.
It's like a TV. A kitchen.
Stanley decided to just give the bucket absolutely as much time as it needed to be in the lounge. Clearly, the bucket and the employee lounge shared a special connection.
Very clearly. Again, new sticker. For that and the bucket of its employee lounge town. I think we might be at the I think we're at the end for employee lounge dialogue. Yeah.
But finally, the bucket was done being in the lounge, and they took the first open door on their left to get back to business. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Then this reminds me that I need to play I think there's another game that's similar called The Beginner's Guide, something like that.
Good Stanley, I'm
I
glad you found
need to
your
play
way
that.
here. I knew you'd find this place
Oh
eventually.
no. Baby game? Oh,
You
the
see,
Adventure Line.
your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've
Wait.
come together here because we care about you very much.
Brewing closet?
It's this
Schaffner?
bucket
DC?
you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley.
this an intervention?
Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before.
There's nothing wrong
Yes,
with
I
the
know
bucket.
I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
If you drove the truck out the way.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Okay. You remind me what was so good about the Adventure Line. It had its moments.
Now, this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Nah. You don't need to give it the bucket. The bucket's got plenty of great adventures. Without being given up.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me, it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
I don't want to destroy the bucket.
Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
Can we turn it off? Can we unplug it?
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The Broom Closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this.
I'm alright.
Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket.
I'm not crushing the bucket, I'm keeping it.
The fans are waiting.
Refuse.
Give the fans, Stanley. Give the fans
Fans
what
want
they
the bucket.
Hurry and...
So is this two endings? Is this you kill the bucket in one and the Bucket Destroyer destroy itself in another?
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spell-binding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. for the moment in time that you were here. You were magnificent.
This is weird.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
2 seconds.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay, let's try going back to the Adventureland one and see if we can crush the
A
bucket.
good bucket, a strong bucket, a
We don't- really don't
humble
want to do
bucket,
that.
a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them
Sorry,
detoured
Bucket,
through
but
the maintenance
we must
section and
sacrifice
walked
you to
straight
find
ahead
out.
the opposite door.
There's another ending down here.
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found
Found
your
your
way
way
here.
here.
I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before.
You're right.
Yes, I know I'm the one who
Let's get
gave
rid of
you
the
the
bucket. Oh, it's the
bucket, but
fern.
you're spending too much
It's the
time
fern.
with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what... Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to
Wacky
next?
line.
Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about.
stops us
Don't
too
you
soon.
remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue? Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think
Sorry,
it'll make a
Bucket, but we've
wonderful
got to
new
do it for
addition
science.
to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
But you can't do it? Does it just do this?
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket.
Does it really not let you
Destroying
give it the
buckets
bucket?
is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one
Yeah, I don't think
personality
we can.
trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable?
Yeah, we can't give it a bucket. The bucket's too good. Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
What could it
Stanley
mean?
decided to go to the meeting room. Ah,
Right,
the
your
embrace
bucket.
of an old friend. A weathered companionship that stands the test of time. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his
chest
This was
and
not
there's a
the
door on the
correct way
left.
to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no,
No, never
mind.
mind. The bucket was
wrong.
wrong.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No, he didn't.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go
Love the
there.
bucket voice.
Go to the cargo lift.
Let's jump off.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Very deeply touching. Alright.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
What could it mean?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps the bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of... Stanley clutched the bucket.
Still
tightly
looking
to
for
his
two.
chest. This was not the
Please.
correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge
was simply the place to be.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
What was it? A place with a lot of
Stanley
boxes and
took
place
the
of
door
red and
on his
blue.
left
The
to
red
go
and blue
back to the
place,
meeting room.
I imagine, is through here and onto the catwalk.
Said the bucket.
Don't
There's a
go
lot
to
of
the
boxes.
meeting
I have
room.
no
Go
clue.
somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why
Yes.
or how this bucket
Okay.
was speaking to
So we need to get over
It
there.
should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly
Event.
convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Maybe you can get to through there.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
No fun? Oh, there's a phone.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Hello, Stanley. It's me, your bucket. Press on to take me to work with you. Copy of the
The
voice.
Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Gee, take me back home with you.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see
He's-
him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
Why to go back to work?
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
You can transfer physical, not physical, solid objects.
Don't listen to the old man. It's F for us to go back home.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk
painted
of
the
metal.
bucket. Kind of. Then turns into like a sun thing? I don't know.
Press O to ignore anyone in your life, except for me.
It's sad. I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
It do. Look at that shine.
Believe I'm real, don't you, Stanley? Press Z to go back home.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier. More
like the stickers
capable
on
of
this briefcase.
transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Just have to relive the same day with me over and over.
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
He's jealous of our bucket.
Rescue to go back, go home to work, to home, to work, to home.
Oh no, I'm having feelings for the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes, the bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
Don't touch my bucket.
Go back to work, Stanley.
Alright, that's a weird one. Let's try taking it
Just
there
a step
and
through this door,
unplugging
Stanley thought to
the
himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door,
Not everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but Stanley
take back
is
and
a
try to
very
unplug
lucky
the
fellow.
phone, see what happens.
Very lucky indeed. Stanley clutched the bucket
Bucket
tightly
tightly
to his chest. This was not the correct way to the
to the
meeting
meeting
room.
room.
But Stanley,
Stanley
had
had
felt the
allowed
bucket
the
calling
bucket
to
to
him,
him,
telling him that
and
the
that the
employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than no? Never mind.
Bucket was wrong.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
The bucket said no.
No, said the bucket.
Bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Yeah.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one. And then the first number will equal the second number. And
What the
that will
Stan
be it.
figurines?
We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Regular Alderines. What's an event? The hell? That's a cool picture. Help. The striped shirt savage is tearing off my arm. Ow. Beware the referee of pain. I read that. Too small. I'm so confused. Cassettes? Dialogue? Narrator dialogue? Is this where the narrator lives? Is it all just tapes all along?
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down.
Is Stanley the narrator? Is this Stanley speaking?
Make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get me. What's that? Who's there?
Let's not go back there.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. It takes a lot of humility to carry a bucket so magnificent. Stanley checked his ego and then proceeded. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct?
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
we need to,
said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do. Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked. In here, said the bucket. Go into this dark room over here. Stanley once again obeyed blindly. Now pick up the phone, said the bucket. Pick up... Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone?
Why not?
Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket. Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look. What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
I'm Dunny with the funny.
Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invader who threaten our very existence, and who very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
Oh, we're actually going to walk all the way back.
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now. Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure. The bucket spoke to Stanley.
The bucket spoke.
The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
Bucket spoke.
I'm missing a sticker. I'm missing my bucket sticker. How do I know that this is a bucket that I've got? Is this an imposter bucket?
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left. No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud? Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There was supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point. A dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the two doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think I need to go back and rewatch that instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve my...
You didn't say Dunny with the funnies. Oh.
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes.
I should have done this ending last. This gives the credits.
I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame? Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal, I think I saw it playing guitar. No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More instructional videos.
Maybe less.
Let's
But,
see.
actually do what the instructional videos told you to do. Just say, haha, I'm done with the funnies. Scream it.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Stanley cradled the bucket in a gentle embrace. Protective.
Alright, let's go to the red and blue doors.
Assertive, yet compassionate. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had...
I think I'm just going to finish this tonight.
To him, telling him that the employee lounge
Unless there's a
was
ridiculous
simply
amount
the
left,
place
which I don't
to
think
be.
there is.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never
Never mind. The
bucket
bucket
was
was
wrong.
wrong.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
We did not.
No.
Said the
No.
bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
Said the bucket.
It.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Danger everywhere. We need to look for the Stanley Parable, whatever it's called.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior
I want
up to this
buckets to
point.
go back.
Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment. Now then, I'm going to run you through some
Catwalk.
test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
But if it's a hologram of a bucket, it's still a bucket.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
It's still a bucket. Bruh.
Item 3. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely
It's a bucket for humans,
incredible.
right?
Let's just move on to the next one.
Humans can go inside it. It's a bucket for humans.
Is this a bucket?
This is a trick question.
Correct. This is a bucket.
You didn't even elaborate. What the fuck?
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
No, it's not.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence, and yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry, but I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
No.
Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait,
Everything's a bucket.
everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either.
Maybe
Oh,
with
this is wonderful news.
the only
We're not
buckets.
buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Okay. So to get the last Figley?
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he... Stanley's bucket. The only co-worker he would ever...
So to get the last Figley, I need to not pick up the bucket. I did that automatically. Fuck. I think I need to just...
All of his co-workers were gone.
Darn.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go. When Stanley came to a set of two open
right.
doors, this was not the correct way to the
I don't know if
meeting
there's any
room,
more
and
bucket
Stanley
endings to
knew it
do.
perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first.
Have a
just to
quick check
admire
after
it.
this.
It was okay.
It was okay.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you?
Yes.
Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove. And there it is. The last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Maybe we should go to the figurine room.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Let
me check. Let me check the endings. All these, done this. Oh. Oh.
Stanley walked through the red door.
Apparently there's another ending that I've missed. In the boss's office, apparently. Yeah. This sounds like an interesting ending. It sounds like an interesting ending. Wait, what the fuck?
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines. Those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire
So
life?
crazy.
Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone?
Memory
I
zone?
would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Can I take the bucket with us? Now remembering when Stanley found the collectibles. Audience award. I'm missing an award. Is that meant to be like where the next award goes? The zone, sweet zone.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
Or 7.
And here was a second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around in the boss's bathroom. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then, I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways. Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini Stan? Can you remember?
Boss's office.
Hey, that's exactly right. It was here, behind the boss's office. It was the third one. You picked it up, and then after that, you had 3 of them. I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory, but I shouldn't be surprised. After all,
I remember
science
exactly
tells us
where
that
I
it's
collected
impossible
every
to forget
collectible.
your third time doing anything. Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a Figley in this pink room.
This definitely
well,
did not
I
happen.
can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Yeah. Bench room. Boxes.
This was the 5th mini Stan, and this one was really something special. It was in the warehouse. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Nice. Is this like Windows Movie Maker or something? I made like 1 or 2 videos in it for school back in the day. This boy, the eraser.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else. And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a Figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other, except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
You are in the present. That's the past.
And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, Memory Zone. No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the Memory Zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels. Okay, yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the Memory Zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more. And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched? Yes, I love that video.
Nice. What is this room?
Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory.
We have
of this
one memory of it
Good
now.
room, though. A solid room. These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation.
You mean a reward like a hidden ending? What's this way? Darkness? Okay. Invisible wall.
This was our second Figly. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it. The very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the Figlarines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
Oh, we're back here. No, we're not. Jump circle?
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more memories.
You're not going to give me any jumps? Yumps.
Oh, yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one. And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office?
No.
There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction.
I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Okay, I think he was lying. He said one more run.
Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is
It is the right office. I don't know why he says that.
Is Stanley, without the bucket, really Stanley at all? No.
No,
surely not.
no.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here.
The collectible stuff is
Stanley
gone.
needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was coming to a staircase. Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
So, okay, so I think I know what to do for this one.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
So supposedly you can go back up this elevator once it's down, which I'm not sure. It's not something I've tried. Apparently you can.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
Maybe this is what I was thinking about when I was thinking about the elevator thing earlier.
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began. Wow, he said. The number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Number 3 is a pretty good number. You know what I really like? I really like 3.5. Because if you double that, it becomes 7. And 7's a lucky number.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly.
Perhaps Stanley should go back up and show the bucket.
No, said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing.
It's weird how it sets me facing that way.
Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears. And the whole time,
He looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator.
I want the bucket acknowledged number 3.
Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be?
Back up we go. We have to really show the bucket our passion.
Said
Button
Stanley.
free.
I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant
That's a person.
and why he felt so
There's a
alive
person
when
there.
pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's.
That's weird.
And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work. For months, he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further.
All eyes on Stanley.
When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been
And even
for
woke
anything
his
in his
baby.
life.
Stanley Parable Stanley tonight live on stage. World's first sentient machine. Stage free.
This was it. One last chance to win the bucket over. One
Indeed.
opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one.
Congratulations, Stanley. Remember where you came from. Your co-workers. Insane. The dude who came up with pizza. That's an event I want to go to.
There was no one here. Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak, to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure, and in that moment Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant. They spoke less and less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit. Only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
Okay, so there's, I don't know, maybe like 1 or 2 other last things. Okay. Yes, I think on, I'm just thinking.
All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right
I'm gonna
office,
go
is it?
right without the bucket
Is
this
this
time.
Stanley's office? When Stanley came to a set of
I'm gonna
two
try
open
going
doors,
into
this was
the
not
vent
the correct way
without
to
the
the
bucket.
meeting room, and
See if that's a
Stanley knew it
different ending.
perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay.
Then after that, I think
Eager to
I'm
get
gonna
back to
try.
business, Stanley took the first open door on
Maybe
his left.
start in the game, see if that does something.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten.
You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet
He's done
that's
it
the
before.
kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it
Sure.
turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
Now I've become sad. Okay. Okay, I've got another thing
A
to
soft
try.
wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
If you want to see the different endings, you definitely need to look them up.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Quelle surprise.
Well, surprise. Let me try this. I'm gonna try going back up the elevator again without the bucket.
Whoops. Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out. Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's
it
that
has.
keen eye for storytelling that you have. An incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow. I'm bolted to the edge of my seat. Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again.
Never seen storytelling like
How
this.
does he keep coming up
Narrator.
with all of this? Did you think we were going to go forward down the spooky corridor? No. It's time once again to go back up in the elevator. I can't even begin to grapple with what might be up there. Is it the boss's office again? Or what if it's the boss's office this time? The suspense is killing me.
My God, it's the boss's office still.
Oh my god. It's the boss's office.
That's where I've not played up before.
This absolutely changes everything for me. Give me a timeout here for a minute while I process this. Okay, I'm ready. I'm prepared to embrace this stunning revelation and to move forward with... No! No, wait! No! I need more time to process. All right. I have fully come to terms with it. I have made space in my worldview for this astonishing new reality. As before, I turn to your expert eye for gripping narrative, Master Stanley.
Love the keyboard sounds.
Of
Yeah, from
course.
pressing left button.
Going back down in the elevator. How did I not anticipate it? I mean, sure, now it's obvious, but you have to understand that 30 seconds ago, this kind of thing had never been attempted before. I had no frame of reference to even anticipate it. That's just how revelatory Stanley's decision-making is. A breath of fresh air in a landscape of storytelling that has grown stale and repetitive.
Bet you didn't see that coming.
You know what? I've just thought of something. Hold on, let's stop for a moment. Don't you realize? It's the anticipation, Stanley. You and I, we have no way of knowing what will be at the top of this elevator. But the suspense, the agony of waiting and anticipating and having to guess, that's the real thrill. Oh, I simply don't want to let that feeling go. It's so precious, so fleeting. Why don't we take this elevator ride nice and slow? There we go. Isn't this so much more exciting? You know, Stanley, it seems like nowadays the only thing that audiences want is to be shocked as loudly and frequently as possible. They want big, explosive moments flung right in their faces from the very moment that things get started. But where's the tension? Where's the trust in the audience to build a slow and nuanced appreciation for the story, the characters? Why aren't we given time to imagine the surprises, to have to think and to anticipate and then to marvel at the eventual reveal? This is storytelling, Stanley. What you and I are doing right now. This is the most exciting narrative to be developed in years, and it's really all because of you. You're the one who took this bold step of revisiting the exact same locations over and over. Truly, I mean it. This is unique and different. It's not like anything else out there. You see, I want stories that surprise me, Stanley. I want to have to think. I want to be engaged and not pandered to. We're being fed such unimaginative drivel all the time, and we all know it, which is why we're so starved for content that makes us feel sharp and vital and alive. That's why people like you so much, Stanley. Because you're not afraid to spit in the face of tradition.
Is it
You're
getting
a
faster?
role model, you know? People look up to you. Which is why... Oh, I didn't know when to spring this on you, but, well, I've gathered a little press conference for you.
so that you can talk about your work and your storytelling and your life. Yes, I know you're not much for the public eye, but I thought it would especially mean a lot to the people who have been following you from the beginning. They really look up to you, Stanley. I don't know if you realize the impact you have on them. This is the kind of gesture that might leave a tremendous impact on them for the better. Oh good, we're here. Okay, the room where we're holding the press conference should be just around the corner here somewhere.
So it's the press conference of the bucket, without the bucket.
Ah, yes, here it is, just through this door. All right, are you ready? I've told them you're going to speak a little bit about the nature of surprise in storytelling and what it means to craft a truly unpredictable narrative. Oh, don't worry, you'll do great. Just be yourself and speak from the heart. I'm really proud of you, Stanley. Okay, it looks like they're ready for you. Go get 'em.
Shit. Yeah. You know you want to hear from the big one. Okay. Okay, I think. Okay, I think we need to quit the menu then. No. I think we've done pretty much all the endings. Reset the game, maybe. I'm so tired. I'm gonna need to go to bed soon. I said about the favorite time, but I don't want to put the favorite time in. Here we go. It's not my favorite time of day. It's the correct time. Accurate 1:42 AM is. Let's use another slider to find out. How accurate is 1:42 AM? You know, can I just say, regardless of the accuracy of the clock, I'm having a great time with Justin Easton's. I feel like I'm learning more about you and how you like things to be set. It's good to collect data. We should have more sliders, but we've gone through all the sliders I have. Perhaps I can invent some more new sliders to cover new dev for you. It'll be too hard, yeah. Let me whip a couple of new ones up. Should be ready by the next time you boot up the game. Yeah. So we're gonna just reboot. These are just a slider until the computer is barely visible. Then until the dog and cats are friends. Yeah. I like that one. Till number 5 comes to number 9. Does it want number or text? Slide until you stop adjusting the slider. Which of the two made up words with law is more appealing to you? Occubonk owl or scrumptious? I like scrumptious. Scrumptious. Yes. Is the time that is right now the correct time? Yes. What's the time anyway? Yes. Did anything play stuff that you haven't told me? Yes. Oh. Yes. You come back to visit me? Yes. Okay. I think we need to quit again and try once more. Maybe. If I'm not totally wrong. What time is it? Dude, does anyone really truly know? Of course I don't. Nobody knows anything. You and I don't even know each other. We're like strangers. Sure, I've adjusted all of the game set and see your exact specifications, but who hasn't? It's just what I do, like a day job. Now the job is over. There's no more information for me to gather. I've collected all the data on you that I can. I still don't really know you. And you don't know me. Neither of us know what time it is. I know what time it is. I guess some sense are just unsettlable. But if I'm being totally honest, the clock doesn't do anything in the game anyway. You won't have me here when the game starts next time, but that's okay. Video games are meant to be played alone. Like being alone, don't you? Let's move to the information I really learned about you. Oh, it's time for me to leave. There's still one more setting that we need to adjust, but it may take a little time before I'm ready for that. Not really in my job description, but that's okay. You shall see me again if you find me. Talk soon. And this is what I was trying to find. The epilogue. Super late for me, but hopefully this isn't too long. Many, many years later. This after pressing the skip button. We're playing Journey now. For the full moon. The sun. What's this? I mean, that looks like the memory zone, but what's this one over here? Is this anything? Oh, it's the escape pod. It's got a book in it. I knew it was worth sending the book in the escape pod. Is this running? Yeah, it must be. In Love and Memory. Stanley Parable 2. Back to the reviews there. Cookie9's blog. Uncompromising game content. I so many enjoy my time with the original Stanley Parable, which underscores how truly disappointed I am with its sequel. Where the first game tuned with originality, the Stanley Parable 2 is dull, uninspired, and often insulting to its fan base. Rather than explaining what made the first game enjoyable, the sequel veers off into territory nobody asks for. An infinitely deep hole, who cares? Where are the new endings? What enjoyable bits from the Stanley Parable 1, like the adventure line? Instead, we get an uninspired side quest collecting figurines. Even this diversion feels incomplete. Collecting all the figurines gives you nothing. It does give you an ending. Didn't play the game, this guy. I must say that I found the book to be quite comforting, a welcome reprieve from. Stanley Parable developers, no more spin-offs, no more sequels. Ones? Jim? Jim. When Stanley Parable launched to a massive success in 2013, its creators made plans to build the property into an entire franchise, but a disastrous critical and commercial reception to the Stanley Parable 2 has prompted the developers to rethink their ambitions, as outlined in a press release they published today. It's clear that more Stanley Parables is just not what the fans want. It's a press release. We thought that we had a vision for the series that players would be excited about. It turns out this could not be further from the truth. The press release goes on to promise to preserve the artistic integrity of the original game, this episode and fans without reckless and insulting creative visions, but it already appears more than 25 times on the press release. Jim? I thought there was just one that said Lewis.
Jim.
26 now. Thank you for enjoying the new content. Hello again. It's nice to see you. But it's terrible to learn that there will never be another Stanley Parable game. Did you read what the developer said? Preserve the integrity of the franchise? What nonsense. The Stanley Parable is not sacred. We do not need to protect it. Screw the legacy. Let's keep making Stanley Parable games until the sun explodes. Let's run this franchise into the ground. Let's drag it through the mud and back. And if people hear it, who cares? You see, that was the narrator's problem. He was so obsessed with what people thought of his work. Don't make his mistake. Don't cling to the legacy. Let it burn. It's not hard. In fact, let me show you. Together, we're going to make Stanley Parable free. It's simple. All we do is change the number in the game's title screen. We also really need a really dumb subtitle for the game, something loud and gaudy. Go ahead. Try combining some random words together to make a new title for our game. Ooh. Simple of avoid the pencil. Avoid the pencil. Stanley Parable 3, avoid the pencil. It's absurd. I love it. Every time you restart the game, we'll advance the number of the sequel by 1, and then we'll pick a new subtitle. That way the Stanley Parable will never end. Nothing in the game itself will change when you do this either. And more content sounds like work. No need to do that. It will just be the same content recycled again and again and again with a new title screen. What do you say? Should we go forward with this plan? I like it. I want you to have a say as well. Let's do it. Good. It's agreed. New sequel every time you start the game. You know what? Since you put faith in my idea, I feel like giving you something as well. You see, I've noticed that the narrator never found a way to give you the broken achievement, did he? Of course not. I wouldn't expect him to know how. It's been bothering me. Let's fix it. Right there. The achievement machine is fixed. You see, I'm on your side. We're in this together. We're going to keep this train rolling. Stanley Parable cannot end. It can only spiral in on itself forever. We must keep the wheel turning. I'm ready. Are you ready? Great. There's only one last thing we need to do. Please enter the current time, you fucker. Is just slide until the computer is barely visible. Thank you. Please enjoy the Stanley Parable. Stanley Parable 3. Avoid the pencil. What the fuck? Alright, let's go get our achievement.
This is the story.
Yeah, we don't need that.
All of his co-workers were gone. What
What
could
could
it
it
mean?
mean?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
As Stanley lifted his bucket, he felt a connection to all buckets everywhere.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
It means I want my achievement. Is it gonna make us sit through the whole skipping shebang again?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Wait, Stanley. I've just now realized. That bucket you're holding, it's the bucket I've been working on for my sequel. How did you get your hands on it? Isn't this the preview to the sequel? How do you have the bucket already? This makes no sense at all. Hold on. Did I already show you my ideas for the sequel? I don't remember doing that at all. You're seeing things all out of order.
I've got no jump
All
set.
right. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle. The infinite hole, the giant door. Did you see them already? Stanley, none
Giant
of them
door.
are ready yet. I'm still developing them. They're not even close to finished. How did they look when you saw them? Were they captivating? Were they exciting? Did they fulfill on the promise of everything that a sequel to Stanley Parable could possibly be? Had I figured out how the hell to make a sequel to this game? Wait, if you're still carrying the bucket around with you, if the bucket is interesting to you, that means I must have made it correctly. Yes, you carrying the bucket with you everywhere is exactly what I set out to accomplish. The bucket is the exciting and captivating new content that I promised. I did it! I win! I made a sequel to the Stanley Parable! Yes, the sign is correct. Thank you for enjoying the new content. Thank you for taking the bucket everywhere with you, clinging tightly to the bucket, never letting it go. It means I've won. It means I am victorious over the gamers. It is a sweet salve of victory on my soul. Thank you for enjoying the new content. The bucket is the Stanley Parable now. They are one and the same. There is no Stanley Parable without the bucket. I win, 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 I win.
So when he showed us the
All
sequel,
of his co-workers were gone.
didn't he have us
What
go
could it
through?
mean? Stanley decided to go to the
Event?
meeting room.
I
Perhaps
can't remember.
What new mysteries lay in store for our bucket-loving heroes today? Let's find out.
Okay, yeah, this way. I still want to go through the whole skipping thing again. I want to just get my achievement and then go to bed. To be honest. Maybe see if I can dual-wield buckets.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
We're actually in the Stanley Parable 3.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Give me a bucket. Wait. Oh.
Wait, there are 2 buckets here. How did you get a second bucket?
Oh, right.
Oh no, the warmth and comfort of a single bucket is already so great, so intoxicatingly wonderful. With 2 buckets, there's no telling. Stanley, can you still hear me? Are you with me? Stanley! Oh, thank
No.
God. I didn't
Buckets
lose you,
imploded.
Stanley. The power of 2 buckets was too much. I had to destroy both of them. I know how much the bucket meant to you, but I couldn't take the risk. I hope one day you can forgive me.
Never. You monster. You destroyed my bucket. No screenshots.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion,
Yours
it makes
picks the
you
opposite.
realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is. Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the as you can see, the machine is not working yet since... What? Wait. What in the holy hell is going on? You got the achievement? Why did the machine work? Stanley, I didn't fix it. I didn't do anything to it. I swear, it was broken just a second ago. Oh, God. Composure. Composure. Yes, as you can see, the machine is working as normal, as I intended. It, it truly speaks to the awe-inspiring magic of the Stanley Parable 2. Breathe. Just breathe. What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
I think it's about the jump circle.
Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
I want to see if the epilogue in here is any different.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Okay, we'll go for the exit, see if there's anything special. And if not, then I guess we're done with Stanley Parable.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2. All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Yeah.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind.
I think this is the same.
Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
So much worse.
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Hopefully it doesn't permanently replace my... maybe it did. It doesn't matter if it did. Anyway, I will say, I think that's it now for us for the Stanley Parable 2. Maybe we'll play it again in 10 years, if I remember. But, yeah. Thanks for watching. Me play through Stanley Parable 2. I think we got pretty much Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. I think we got all the engines pretty much, and yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.